A couple of my more recent videos have been long, slow walks through my entire garden or through my front garden or my back garden with an emphasis on kind of giving you an overview and showing you the whole garden and not really promising or taking the time to look at each of the individual plants. And as much as that is a great way to kind of really get a good sense of the garden and how it flows and how it all fits together, I know that a lot of people are really interested in having me slow down and look closely and really go through a section of the garden and identify the plants one by one. So that's what this video is going to be. Uh, and we're going to go in and we're going to look at this garden scene here, and we're going to identify each of the plants. This plant combination is in full sun. It's quite drought tolerant and is in my front parking strip, and it gets pretty much full sun and some supplemental water, but not very much. I'm in USDA zone 8B, fringing on 9A, and I'm going to take you through this plant combination, and I'm going to identify the key players by name, and then I'm going to put those plant names up on the screen for you. I'm really just kind of focusing on this one corner to keep keep it manageable so that this video length is, not overly long, and it won't take me too long to go through and identify all the plants. As I go through, it is possible and probable that I will uh, uh, flub up or forget some of the plant names. That's one of the reasons that I put the plant names up on the screen. It's so I can correct any errors that I make. Some of these plants are showing their attributes now, and then some are part of the show to come. I'm going to identify both. So let's go ahead and step back here. And in general, what I'm going to say is that this plant combination has pretty darn good winter structure, all season structure. In winter, the framework of the plant is going to, of the planting scheme is going to be this Chamaecyparis. This is Somerset. It's a has nice chartreusey green foliage, kind of a fine texture, an upward sweeping growth habit. And I have had that in there for a number of years, and I haven't had to prune on it very much. So it's a relatively slow growing conifer. When I say slow growing, and I'm talking about conifers, it just means, or actually, let me rephrase that. When I say this is a dwarf conifer, which it is, basically what I mean and what is meant by that is that it's slow growing. So it keeps growing and, at some point may be out of scale with this planting. So that's why I choose the slow growing conifers, get them as large as I can um, sometimes, and they're usually not available very large for purchase. But my plan is that I kind of work around them and the plantings around them kind of evolve and they change as the conifer increases in size. So this one is kind of getting at what I would say is maximum size for this planting scheme. And so it's possible that I'll have to look at it in the next several years and maybe make a modification. The other evergreen plants that are kind of forming the backdrop here this is Bupleurum fruticosum. It is, you can see it's kind of foliage is kind of glossy and leathery. Those stems have kind of a little bit of a pink cast that when it's next to something burgundy, it kind of brings that out. It's attractive now, but later it's much more showy. These will be, see if I can get in there and get it to focus. Those beginnings of flower heads will open and be kind of these open dill-like flowers that are chartreuse yellow, and the bees just flock to it like crazy. And it's just one of my favorite tough all-season shrubs. It is becoming much more available here in the Portland area, so that's good. I used to point it out to people, and and they could never get it because it was just not available. So you can find it probably at Cistus or Zera on a pretty regular basis, and those are Portland area nurseries. The other evergreen player is this Cistus. It's a low-growing variety, so you can see it's not, some Cistus come in all sorts of growth habits. I purposely selected one that was kind of low and broad, and that one is called Gordon Cooper, and it's flowering now. And it's, you know, my garden is small, so I'm always trying to find things that are pretty compact, and with the cistus, that can sometimes be a challenge. So this plant is doing well. It's pretty big, and so I'm not sure how it's going to fit in for me on the long term. The other structure-making plant that I want to point out is this red yucca. This is a Hesperaloe parvifolia, and mostly it's these kind of strappy, succulent stems are evergreen. And this year I'm getting some decent flower on it. So these are just starting to emerge, and then they're going to be these kind of simple red flowers that last a long time, and the hummingbirds are going to flock to them, and it's just going to be kind of fun to watch. It's an open and kind of transparent, not heavy in terms of trying to get this kind of strappy foliage. You know, sometimes I might have used a phormium in here, but phormiums are quite tender for us here and not a really reliable overwintering plant. And then when it is reliable and it overwinters, they can get really, really big, many of them. So, and they don't share space as well. This one, what I like about it is I can kind of dress up its little skirt down there. So I've got, you know, kind of a spider's web hen and chicks, the Sempervivum, that just kind of carpets around the base of that, hugs the ground, which is attractive, and the stone there, which is attractive, but it also is excellent weed suppression. The Sempervivums are also evergreen. We looked at this one the other day in a different video. This is Penstemon pinifolius, and this one's the coral one, and it's blooming, so this is its attractive moment. Looks a lot like a California fuchsia, but it's not. This foliage down here is evergreen, so after flowering, I'll come in and I'll cut it back. And this is the foliage that shows year-round. So it's not showy, except for in this moment, but it's just kind of a ferny ground cover. And it looks great with some of the other sun lovers. So now we're kind of transitioning into the plants that are more flower oriented, florifus. So we looked at the Penstemon. We've got the Phlomis, which is a little bit of both because this foliage here belongs to that Phlomis, and that is evergreen to semi-evergreen. Felty, gray foliage, kind of sturdy. Looks a lot like a sage, you know, culinary sage, but it's not. So that's Phlomis, and these are the flowers that belong to it. Back in here, that's a globe thistle, just the emerging foliage. Later, it'll have blue thistle-like flowers, round globes. So it's called a globe thistle. That's its common name. And I've got a Kniphofia, also not not blooming yet. That's one of the red. Um, its common name is like a poker plant or something. This one is, I'll have to look up the actual name, but it's in orange tones. It's one of the smaller ones. It's kind of grassy texture. Got a Penstemon, different type of Penstemon over here, and maybe more what you think of when I say Penstemon. That little yellow thing in there, I probably should have mentioned it in the evergreen or semi-evergreen part of the video. Its foliage can sometimes be present through the year. That's Armenia, and I'll have to put the name up there. One of my favorite sedums of all time. This is Sedum Blue Pearl. Sorry about that shadow there. Sedum Blue Pearl. And I've got that plant repeated in a number of different locations. And I think I misspoke because, and here's the, well, here it is. This is Sapphire sedum. It is also one of the Mojave jewels collection, which I've been experimenting with, and they're all quite similar. So that's why I misspoke. So Blue Pearl is great. This one's Sapphire. There's other ones that are called Diamond, or there's just it's a collection of sedums that were selected for that colorful foliage. All right, so let's see what I have forgotten. Look at it back through here. I guess the thing that I haven't mentioned is between the Bupleurum and that conifer is a grass that is just getting started. That's a Panicum. So it's kind of an upright habit. It gets good fall color. And so that's kind of part of the show to come. This is the back side of that combination that we looked at. And we're just isolating this one section. And of course it speaks to other parts of the garden, but we're just looking past those and just looking at this section. And hopefully this is a street side garden. And I hope that the street side noise hasn't been too much. It's hard, and because it's a garbage truck day too, so all sorts through the neighborhood. There's just a lot of truck noise. As I'm looking at it from this side, I think there's a couple plants I may not have talked about expressly. This is an evening, or it's a Oenothera, and it's seeded in there. Flowers generously and for a long time. Self-seeds a little bit, but thus far not in a problematic way. And just like we had the kind of spidery hens and chicks on the other side, this one has those at the edges, a different type selected for its burgundy foliage, kind of at the edges on this side. And through here we've got a Mimulus. So lots of different plants, and I'm not even talking about the bulbs that are in this bed through different seasons. There are species tulips in there, some early daffodils, crocus, and those sorts of things, which are the first part of the show on this combination, and then that the bulbs will bloom within the frame that is set by the evergreen plants. Okay, I hope this is helpful in terms of really kind of looking at the details on a planting combination. I'm sure I missed some things, and I hope I didn't go too slowly, but I have been hearing from some viewers that they, were really interested in this kind of content. So let me know if this is what you had in mind, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.